tasked with assembling an elite team to travel through time. All your worlds are about to change.
Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome back to another Legend of Tomorrow episode review. My thoughts on tonight's episode of Legend of Tomorrow, titled The Chicago Way, which is the mid-season finale of the show, for at least for this season. And I thought it was a really fun episode. Finally, dealing with the whole Legion of Doom thing. They finally brought in Malcolm Merlyn. We got to see glimpses of Wentworth Miller's Captain Cold again. We see Al Capone. We see there's a lot of stuff going on in this episode. I thought it was not the best episode of the season, but there's definitely a lot going on in it that I enjoyed. And there's some things that I had some problems with, and I'll get to those a little later. Again, this episode was a lot of fun. I love the team being in the 1920s, in the jazz era, because I'm a huge jazz fan. I played in the jazz band in high school, so going to that era, which for me in terms of music. To me, that's one of my favorite eras of music, and just seeing the team go there, to me it was just, even though it wasn't about the music aspect, but kind of seeing the Roaring 20s, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on, with race and race issues and sexism and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm really glad that they showed us, even though the actor was not that great, they showed us Al Capone. They showed us, kind of how the country was, because of the ban on alcohol at the time, and just seeing the characters in that time period, especially Mick in the beginning of the episode, it was a lot of fun. Obviously, the better parts of the episode were the parts that were focused on what was going on with the Legion of Doom, who have yet to call themselves that yet, and how they're trying to track down this amulet from earlier in the season, and they kind of slowly go to they slowly try to take down the team, and they trick the team several different times. And one of my favorite shots of this episode was when the team confronted the Al Capone and his gang on the docks, because I feel as a whole, the team doesn't always suit up when they can, and that's the thing with what some of my problem was with the first season, is that you have all these superheroes, and yet you see them just wearing just old timey clothes and just barely using the powers, and that's where sometimes I was a little frustrated, because the only person we'd really see in their suit was was Ray. And so in that shot, of the shot you see behind me, you have everyone there suited up. So it was just as a comic book fan, I just want to see more of that, and I think it was cool just seeing all these characters in the 20s in their suits and in their costumes. And I see because last week was the 4-way crossover, and it was the first time we really saw Nate in his new suit. A lot of people think they think it's ugly and the cheap Captain America ripoff. I think for the CW, and considering they don't have the budget to have Nate in his steel form all the time, it's about as close as you can get to the comic counterpart of Citizen Steel without looking too ridiculous. I think it looks fine. Again, it is a little Captain America-esque. The helmet is okay. I don't hate the look. I think it's fine. I think people are over exaggerating how bad it looks. I just don't understand why people they think it's ugly. I don't think it's ugly. Obviously, it's not the best looking suit, but for the character and kind of where the show is in terms of its budget and all that, I think it's just okay. But getting back into the episode, it was weird seeing Malcolm Merlyn in the show and seeing his interactions with Sarah, because that's one aspect of the show that Sarah was in season 2 of Arrow, the one season that Malcolm Merlyn wasn't really in, except for the beginning and the end, and it's the first time we've really seen the two characters interact. I think you guys can if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. But seeing those two together, and Merlyn trying to convince Sarah to if he gives them, or if she gives them the amulet, he'll go back and change time for them. Which of course last week when we saw Sarah in the Arrow episode, and the Dominators kind of give them the fantasy world of them, her and Oliver never getting on the Queen's Gambit, and Laurel not being dead, and all that stuff going on, that Sarah got to have a glimpse of what her life would be like if it was normal, and she kind of accepted that this is her life. And that's why when Malcolm Merlyn tried offering her, hey, you can go back and have a normal life, you don't have to worry about being an assassin or a killer are having this terrible life, and Sarah just kind of accepts that this is her life, and she doesn't want to change that, especially with everything going on, with finding out about Flashpoint, and dealing with the revelation of Stein having a daughter because of what happened a few episodes ago in the 1980s. I think Sarah in this episode was the strongest character. Like, she's really owned being like the leader of this team this season, and that's where like sometimes I forget that Rip Hunter was even in the show. I do miss Rip. He wasn't always my favorite character. He was kind of an asshole sometimes, but I still think that the show, like, at first it felt weird not having him there and having him just kind of disappear without really having a real reason why. I don't know if it was an actor thing or if it was a writing thing or why Arthur Darvill didn't come back as Rip. But we found out in this episode that Rip has been in the 1960s in Hollywood as a director, which I think is a little weird. And he doesn't have his accent. Of course, he's putting on a fake accent, at least as far as I know. At least from what I can guess. So that ending was a little weird. And I don't know, it was just like, it's weird because this whole season with Rip being gone, you're wondering where he is, then he turns out he's just a Hollywood director. Don't know how I feel about that yet. I mean, the show's not gonna be back for like a little over a month and a half or ish. So I don't know how that's gonna be resolved. And before I forget, I just realized tonight that when the show comes back, it's not gonna be on Thursdays anymore. It's gonna be on the same night as The Flash, which is gonna make Tuesday nights a real pain in the ass for me because I already struggle enough trying to review Flash on time and get my video up on time as it is. So now I have 2 DC shows on the same night. Yeah, which is gonna make things, I think, interesting. I guess it's a vote of confidence that having the show earlier in the week, I guess, is a good thing. But I like having one DC show a night, so that's where I don't because I think they're putting that new Archie show Riverdale on once the shows come back, and you got iZombie coming back. I think I kind of get why, but at the same time, Legend of Tomorrow has the lowest ratings of all the DC CW shows, so I guess I kind of get it. But to me, it's just I guess I'm just complaining because that's just more work for me to do on Tuesday nights. So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up before I forgot. One thing about this episode that I kind of had a problem with, it was something I kind of had a problem with when they brought him back in The Flash a few episodes ago, is the use of Wentworth Miller so far this season in these shows, because as far as we know, he's supposed to be part of the Legion of Doom at some point, right? And they brought him on the show just to be to not have him actually be there. And I feel like you're wasting Wentworth Miller's, I feel like it's a waste of his time and money being paid to him for him just to be there, just to, not even actually be there as a character. Yeah, he's there just to kind of remind Mick of kind of who he is, and also remind Mick of how far he's come as a character with everything going on with Mick and Amaya, and Mick really stepping up in this season. And it was just, I just didn't like the fact that that Snart was a hallucination in this episode. So I just wish we could have seen more of him as Snart, and I wish the reveal at the end would have been Snart actually being alive, because I don't even know what they're gonna do at this point, because they've said that Snart's dead, and so far that's unaffected from Flashpoint. But it's I don't even know how they're gonna bring it back at this point, because we're already 8 episodes into the show. There's only 9 episodes left, and I don't know what they're gonna do or how they're gonna bring him in. And it's I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of a letdown to have him in the show this week and have him just be a hallucination. I want to see him back in the show, and kind of like what they did with Laura Lance in this week's episode of Arrow. They seemingly brought her back from the dead at the end of the episode, and that was kind of the cliffhanger. And this week's cliffhanger was Rip Hunter being a director in Hollywood, and we don't even know what's going to go on with Leonard Snart. That's where I'm just it just kind of sucks for me, because I want to see Wentworth Miller back in his actual character, and not just some hallucination or a flashback or a hologram or whatever. I want him just actually back as the characters. That was just something a little frustrating to me. And I think Mick in this episode, he was one of the stronger characters. I think he's been one of the stronger characters this season, because they didn't have to rely on him just being Snart's partner. He has been able to stand more on his own this season and have more of a relationship, with Amaya, and I think that's weird. I guess it's cool having Mick having somewhat of a storyline, but I hope, because Amaya has to go back to the JSA at some point. You know, I can't imagine her being on the show next season, and I don't, because she has to get back at some point to, you know, have Mari's mom, and then have, you know, Mari be born from her. So she has to go back to Africa at some point to kind of have her family, so Mari McCabe's born. So that's where, like, having this storyline of teasing them potentially having a relationship down the line. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I mean, right now, I think it's cute. I think it's good for Mick to have something other than just relying on Leonard Snart. But I don't know. I'm in a weird place with that. I mean, I like the actress who's playing Amaya. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. She's definitely better. She's been handled better this season than Hawk Girl was in first season. Because Hawk Girl, I'm not even going to go into that because I hated how she was handled. And the actress, I feel like, except there's a couple episodes where she wasn't bad, but I feel like the writers didn't know how to write Hawk Girl. And it's like, it's Hawk Girl. How do you not know how to write Hawk Girl? And they just made her a weak love interest for Ray. And then they got rid of the Hawks because they didn't know what to do with them. So yeah. Overall, again, this episode was fun despite my issues with it. And there were just really minor issues that I kind of wanted to bring up. But it was cool seeing Eobard Thawne again. It was cool seeing Damien Darhk. Finally, the Legion of Doom finally starting to really come together. And, you know, we found out that the amulet was like a part of this thing that creates like a planetarium, essentially, for them to find something that we don't know yet. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to see all these villains finally together. Because they've been teasing the Legion of Doom for the last like 6 months, and now it's slowly starting to come together. And I hope the season has more of a focus and it starts focusing more on this instead of just random time jumps to, this period to stop this aberration, and going to this time period to stop this aberration. Like, I want them to focus on what's going on with, with Stein, because that's a major plot line right now, and what's going on with the Legion of Doom. I want those two things to be the main focus, because the whole Stein storyline thing, I'm actually starting to like more and more, because it was so heavily featured in last week's crossover, that I am excited to see how they handle it. And since the daughter is supposed to be a recurring character in the show for the rest of the season, I'm excited to see what they do with that, and I'm really excited to see what they do with the Legion of Doom storyline. So, yeah, that's going to be it for me. So what did you guys think of this episode? Sound your thoughts in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for all the other videos I'm going to be putting out throughout this holiday season. This is the last DC show on this week. This is the final mid-season finale of these shows. Thank you guys for watching. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all of that. If you guys choose to not watch my videos or just focus on spending time with your family, that's fine. Again, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, have a good one.